Good morning, Sports 2.0 Network. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Colten Kahler Show, sponsored by the Betting Superstore. Head over to the Betting Superstore and get all of your merchandise and needs. I'm wearing my St. Louis sports shirt here today, so you can head over to the Betting Superstore and get yours today as well. But we do have a special guest on the show today, Mr. Tom Ackerman from KMOX Sports. Tom, thanks for taking time out of your day and joining me here.
Colton, great to be on with you, buddy. How you been?
Staying busy. Can't complain, but just ready for baseball season at this point.
Yeah, well, we're getting there. You're going to have it very soon. We're under 2 weeks away. I'm looking forward to seeing Yachty tomorrow. He'll be rock and rolling tomorrow, catching Dakota Hudson up in Port St. Lucie. I still say up in like I'm in Jupiter. I'm back in St. Louis, but yeah, he'll be there. And today you're going to get Steven Matz against the Marlins. And the Cardinals put together a pretty nice looking lineup yesterday, to be honest. I really like Dylan Carlson at the top of it. I think they'll start the year with Tommy Edman at the top, I think. But Dylan looks good. And, I think it's a nice looking team. We still need to figure out their pitching depth. But, yeah, baseball season's here. I mean, we're talking less than 2 weeks. Busch Stadium is open for business.
I'll be there the Saturday for the Yachty and Wainwright start, so I'm looking forward to that. But for those that don't know, Tom, sports director at KMOX, morning news anchor as well, network host for the St. Louis Cardinals, does a little college play-by-play, host of the Garage Happy Hour, his own podcast on StreamYard, and a little bit of a jack of all trades. So
yeah, thanks.
We're happy to have him here. And, college basketball play-by-play, so we'll start with college basketball. Obviously,
Sure.
The talk of the tournament right now is St. Peter's. I mean, what an incredible run that they're putting on right now.
Crazy. Last night was incredible. I actually was in this room where I'm doing this broadcast from. I've got a TV right there, and I was sitting here watching it and just mesmerized with the St. Peter's story. And I actually tweeted with about 2 minutes to go, I think I said, St. Peter's, I love you no matter what happens, because it was just such a great story. They shouldn't be upset if they don't get it. And at that point, I think they were hanging on to a lead, and then they just pulled away and beat Purdue, and they beat Kentucky. And on a side note, as an Indiana University alum, it warms my heart when a team can knock out one of those two, let alone both teams. But to be a 15 seed, first 15 to ever make it to the Elite Eight, little school from Jersey City, and a bunch of New York kids that are like, we're not afraid of anybody. And their coach is like that. Shaheen Holloway, just one of the great guys in college basketball, very soft-spoken but confident and calm in all of his interviews. And I'm certain that's how he is around the team, although when he has to get after it, he does. But I love that they love him, and it's just such a cool story. And you know what? They could beat North Carolina. I mean, they could. North Carolina is really good. They held off UCLA yesterday, and there were some times in that game where I thought they maybe were a little overmatched, and they beat UCLA. And now they get St. Peter's, and that will not be easy for them. But what a cool story. I hope that everybody pays attention to it, because college basketball is great. March Madness is the greatest tournament in sports. The NHL playoffs are awesome in person if you ever get to catch them. The energy in the Stanley Cup playoffs are the best. The World Series is amazing. But this is what March Madness is all about. This is why you watch it. This is what we hope for, is that a Cinderella will emerge, and they are absolutely that. I just think it's so cool. And there are a lot of people that didn't know what St. Peter's was. Now they do. And so it's great exposure for the school as well. I think that it's an example of how sports can do really well as a brand, to put your brand out there. And you can bet that enrollment at St. Peter's and donations to St. Peter's will be a little different moving forward.
Yeah, then you kind of got to my next point. I was going to ask you, as an Indiana grad and a fan, how you felt about the Boilermakers going down. It's an Illinois fan here. Didn't break my heart to see Iowa and Michigan lose either, but you make a great point, because I remember when Bradley, where I currently go, when they made that Sweet 16 run and beat Kansas in the early 2000s. They had kind of been off the map for a little bit since the Hersey Hawkins days, but to see what that did for Bradley and kind of rejuvenated basketball back in Peoria, which is a basketball town, I can only imagine what it's going to do for a small college in New Jersey. For those guys there.
Bradley's a great basketball school. Great, but it's a good example on a different scale. Bradley deserved that exposure as Peoria's a great sports town, and sometimes doesn't get the recognition that it should for that. Just like, I live in a big sports city, but St. Louis gets exposure when our teams do well. I mean, when we had the St. Louis Rams and we won the Super Bowl, we were named the best sports city in America. Well, we already felt like we were a great sports city, but now you had the Blues winning the President's Trophy and the Cardinals were hot at that point. And then here come the Rams winning the Super Bowl. I remember those times and the exposure that we received around the country for having all those teams going at once pushed us into another level. It's just awesome. And I love that. I love that sports can do that for a community. But back to what you said about the rivalry thing, the one thing that I didn't like of all of it, with all the schools you just mentioned, is that the Big Ten got, wiped out there. I mean, the Big Ten, I'm a Big Ten guy, and the Big Ten got really wiped out there late when it looked so promising for us. I was so excited for Illinois. I say that all the time. I'm a big Illinois fan, except when they play Indiana. And I love Brad Underwood. I love that program. And I felt for them getting knocked out when they did, a little early. But then again, they played a team that's absolutely awesome. That team, Houston could win it all.
Houston could. I mean, just the defense and what they're doing without two of their best players all season. I mean, if they had, those two normal starters back, I mean, just imagine what they could do there.
I think so. I had Kentucky winning it all. I'll tell you that in my bracket. So my bracket got hurt severely on day one. I had Iowa in the Final Four. So that got hurt severely in day one. My justification for Iowa was watching them win the Big Ten tournament. I thought, they just are a tough matchup. And if they are making shots, and the way that they play fast paced, there aren't a lot of teams that can catch up to them. Meanwhile, Richmond said, hi, we're from the A10 and the Atlantic 10 is really good. And it was another example of, that there are some good conferences that got ignored this year. And the Atlantic 10 was one of them. There's some really good teams in the A10. Davidson, I thought, was going to go a little further than they did. So my bracket got smashed pretty good, but I had a blast watching this tournament, and it's going to be a lot of fun today and next weekend.
We couldn't script it any better. I think if we get a Duke UNC matchup in the Final Four, half the college basketball will roll their eyes and turn the TV off, and the other half will just not stop.
I think it would be, I think that's a good point. I think it would be intriguing. I do think that having Duke in the tournament in there every time they take the floor could be his last game. So it's a good story. And you're right. If it's Duke Carolina, can you imagine what the intrigue will be there after what Carolina did to him and them at Cameron, that they get a chance to get back at him? I'll say this, though. Arkansas is really good. And I was so tempted to pick Arkansas on the air to beat Gonzaga straight up, but I just didn't have the guts to do it because I've seen Gonzaga play a lot this year, and I thought, they'll find a way. They'll just figure it out. They always seem to hit a shot or do something great. And Arkansas just kept driving on them and got it done. My great friend, Matt Zimmerman, is the radio analyst at Arkansas. He is awesome. You should follow him on Twitter. He's hysterical. And he called it before. He didn't say they were going to win, but he said, Arkansas is not afraid of anybody, and they absolutely can beat Gonzaga. And he did this whole speech on Twitter before the game. He was an assistant coach at Missouri. That's how I got to know him. Then he moved on with Mike Anderson's staff to Arkansas. And when Anderson departed, he stayed and became their radio analyst. And I love Coach Z. So I will be rooting for Coach Z in Arkansas against Duke.
If you had to pick a national championship game and who would win, who would that be?
Man, if I were to pick it right now, I mean, I just told you Arkansas beats Duke. So, I guess I'll stay with that. And I just, it's going to be hard for St. Peter's to do it. I think that North Carolina seems like they're on the track. I think that Arkansas can disrupt this North Carolina Duke thing and pull it off. But I think North Carolina finds a way to end the St. Peter's run. I hate saying that because I don't want them to lose. And then on the other side, I just, Kansas is playing great. There's a lot to be determined today, of course, as to what we see. But I could see Kansas finding a way, and then again, I think, if I'm being honest, okay, I know this is a long answer, but the best team still standing is probably Houston. And as an Indiana fan, Indiana alum, watching Kelvin Sampson coach like that makes me, it's a weird sort of feeling, because I know how good of a coach he was, but I know what happened to us. And so I don't like it. And at the same time, I respect it, because I think he's one of the best game coaches we ever had. I'm not sure that the whole package ended up being great for us, but man, I didn't even think about this morning yet who would win the national championship, but I guess I'm going to take a stab at it and say that Houston ends up winning this thing. I just think the way that they play defense and their combination of athleticism on offense is too much. So there you go. I think Houston Cougars are going to win it.
There you go, Houston.
Which, by the way, is where Jim Nantz went to school. So Jim Nantz would be calling his alma mater winning the national championship. There's a storyline for you.
That would be something. I watched my alma mater play in the state championship here in Illinois a few weeks ago. Lost on the buzzer beater in the 3A state championship. Just a brutal way to finish that one. And I can't imagine for Jim Nantz to be calling his alma mater.
Can you imagine that? I mean, if I called an Indiana game, I'd be emotional. I haven't called an Indiana game since I was there. I called them for college radio there. Right now, most of the games I've done are Mizzou and Missouri Valley Conference. But gosh, to call Indiana in anything, but to call them winning a championship, I'd have to hold back the tears. Wow. I don't know if you can hear my dog over here playing the in-out game with me. You know what the in-out game is, right? So my dog can't decide. Come here, buddy. My dog can't decide whether he wants to be inside or outside. He loves it outside, but he wants to be near me. And now he's complaining that our other dog is outside. Come here, bud. Our other dog is outside. So he can see that out the window. So he hasn't decided yet. So he's just going to sit here by me. Come here, buddy.
That's all right. But Houston, it's the pick. We'll put it down, and we'll see where we end up here in a week or so. But
yeah, put it down.
We'll get to Cardinal baseball. And how was your time in Jupiter?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I spent 9-10 days there around the team. Being around the team in person was really special. I hadn't been able to do that in a couple of years. The last time that we were able to do that, actually the last time I was down there was at the start of the pandemic. So March of 2020, I remember, we only had about a week with the team, and Mike Claiborne and I were actually calling the game the day that they ended the season, which was an eerie thing. Although I think the only person in the entire ballpark who was oblivious to everything was Adam Wainwright, who pitched lights out that day. But the season came to an end, and so it was hard. And then, of course, we know that they didn't restart till the end of July. Had a shortened season. 2021, I did not go to Jupiter because of COVID. Our company restricted our travel, business travel, so I did not attend. So it was great to be able to not only be down there, but not have to talk to the guys on Zoom. That was the biggest thing of all, was to be able to have side conversations with players, saying hi to players. The whole thing about tracking Yachty when he was going to arrive and respecting his privacy and his space on his personal matter was a big story, of course. The weight that was lifted, I think, from everybody. You could just see when he arrived there how special that was for everybody, and that he was okay, and that he's the heart and soul of the team. So the vibe just changed. Everybody was so excited to be there. Everyone was happy and working, but there was a different feeling when Yachty showed up. The Jack Flaherty story. So there was a lot of news to cover in about 9 or 10 days. But my biggest takeaway was, here's my man right here. My biggest takeaway was being with the guys and seeing them in person, and being able to be up close and watch them play was also great.
It's, those are often things I think you take for granted a little bit of, just that human interaction that a lot of people have missed out on in the last, 2 years, and to finally get back to it, I think it's special. And I think it's, we take a little bit, more appreciation for it.
Yeah, we definitely do. And the new manager, Ollie Marmol, is a people person, and I think the guys like being around them. Now he's going to have to, first of all, do a radio show with me every Sunday. But secondly, he's going to have to deal with things when they go wrong, and they already have. I mean, the Jack Flaherty situation. But he's going to go through a losing streak. He's going to go through criticism. I'd like to see how he manages that as a manager of the team. But so far, I really think his presence is welcome around there. They like him, his knowledge of the organization. But above all, he is a people person, and I think that they respect him. But it is great to be around those guys. There's great personalities throughout the team. Miles Michaelis is hilarious. Michaelis said yesterday, I wasn't down there, but I read the quote where he said that he was badgering Andrew Kisner to catch him on the backfields yesterday to get innings. And when he heard that Yachty was going to catch him, he said, "Kiz, you're fired." And then just the whole thing, how Adam Wainwright is playful and how he interacts with his teammates and with us. I thought about it recently. I'm like, man, I'm gonna miss that guy. He's been great to work with.
Yeah, I think the two main storylines I think going into the year is one, obviously, the retirement tour that we're all expecting with Wainwright and Yachty, but then also just it feels like it wouldn't be spring training without a Cardinals pitcher getting hurt. You've got Jack Flaherty, Alex Reyes as well. They just put him on the 60-day IL yesterday. How is Ollie gonna manage that? Because I listened to his interview yesterday on the TV telecast, and I was thoroughly impressed just by the way he was obviously answering questions, but just his hope for this season and his optimism.
Well, I mean, that's just who he is. So I think that he understands that he has to have the depth to counter those injuries. And the big story right now is the fifth starter and watching, what they end up doing there. I'll start with the bullpen. Alex Reyes being out is hard. There's no other way around it because he's such a unlucky guy. I mean, he's dealt with a lot of stuff in his career. It's too bad. I hope that he bounces back from it. It's a shoulder injury for people who don't know. It's a frayed labrum that they've addressed with a stem cell injection. And the stem cell is different than what Flaherty got, a PRP. A platelet-rich plasma is something that brings inflammation down. Stem cell repairs the torn tissue. So hopefully it does its job, but it does take time. So that's why the 60-day DL is important. That's why they have to shut him down for a while. It'll be a while for Alex, but hopefully he comes back at some point in the summer and is ready to rock. But they have depth. They have a guy named Jordan Hicks who's throwing already 99 down there. And once he kind of zeroes in on that strike zone and gets things rolling, I think that they'll be okay in that spot, maybe for multiple innings. It's possible. I mean, his recovery has been really good after every time he's pitched. So how does that work? And then, they do have some arms in the bullpen that I think that can fill that role. And of course, Giovanni Gallegos on the back end is one of those, but watch out for Genesis Cabrera now. I mean, he'll, as long as he's healthy, he is dynamite. I mean, I think he could close games for you if you need it. But Ollie's going to do a little mix and match in the bullpen in terms of setup and who goes where, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and as a fire extinguisher to kind of put the other team down for a little while. And you got some weapons there. And then for the depth, I think that he feels comfortable with his four: Wainwright, Michaelis, Hudson, Matz. But that fifth starter will be interesting. Jake Woodford would appear to have the inside track, but I feel like they want to give it to Drew Verhagen. That's why they signed him. They gave him 3 innings yesterday and wanted to see him against major league pitching. I feel like they're giving him every opportunity. They added Aaron Brooks to the 40-man. There's another depth. He's a different type of pitcher, strikeout pitcher, where Verhagen pounds the bottom of the zone and gets ground ball outs. And I would not discount Johan Oviedo, but he's probably a backup option at this point. And then goes back to Marmol is there's a real fascination from everybody right now with Matthew Liberatore. And John Mozeliak's top pitching prospect, the one he got in the Randy Arozarena trade, is probably ready. And the reason that that is what Marmol said. He's used the word competitive over and over. Mm-hmm. And what he means by that is Matthew wants the job. And Marmol recognizes it. Marmol is encouraging it. Marmol loves competition. He wants these guys competing with each other. So he creates a lot of these competitions. DH at bats, maybe not as much as fifth starter in the rotation. Who will be the leadoff hitter? He's opened that up again. So it's not guaranteed that it's Tommy Edman. That's what we started out talking about. Dylan Carlson's in the mix. And Marmol creates competition everywhere, and now at shortstop. So he's basically given this opportunity to Paul DeYoung not to lose it, but Edmundo Sosa, he knows, is right there and is capable of taking it. So this is what Marmol is. Good guy, great calming presence, as I mentioned, but he will create competitive situations. And in the case of Liberatore, the competitiveness that they keep talking about is that he wants the fifth starter job. He's no longer Matthew Liberatore working on his stuff in the minors and I'll just wait for my opportunity. No, he's basically showing them and telling them, I want this. And they love it. Now, I don't know that he's going to get it, but the fact that he wants to take that ball at Busch Stadium or other parks in the big leagues is a big deal.
Yeah, and that's something that I picked up on yesterday a lot was the competition aspect, because he mentioned it a lot in the TV broadcast, not only with, the shortstop position, but the fifth starter, even, Nolan Gorman. And I read an article this morning of, there's, even though he's a little struggling a little bit right now, they're still very intrigued by what they're seeing out of him. And whether we see him this year, who knows? I think a lot of it depends on, the ability to stay healthy and just kind of how other guys play. But nothing beats competition. And at the end of the day, the better guy should get the spot. Do you see they've made, a couple of signings pitcher wise, but do you see them possibly going back to, Hap, to bring in that fifth starter role that they had last year?
Only if Verhagen doesn't work out, and only if they don't think Brooks and Oviedo and Woodford is a big key here. See, I think Woodford can handle it, but only if they don't feel like among those guys that they have no depth. The lefty aspect is intriguing with Hap. So yeah, I don't know that it hurts to have that extra depth there, but I don't know that they're going to do it if they feel like it would take not take an opportunity, but I think they feel like they have the depth there. If they start to deal with some injuries, maybe. By the way, while we were just talking in the last minute, Ollie Marmol just addressed the media down in Jupiter and said that Yachty is going to start on Monday as his debut and not Sunday. So he just changed that. And the reason for that is Yachty wants more at bats against live pitching. As a side note, this is not anything about Yachty, but I would not want my debut to be against Max Scherzer or Jacob deGrom on Sunday against the Mets. But on Monday, he is going to make his debut, and guess who's pitching? Adam Wainwright. So that'll be going on as just an update for you.
So there you have it. Yachty will get his first spring training start this year on Monday instead of Sunday. And yeah, personally, I would not want to, start my spring training in 2022.
That's certainly not why. I guarantee you that's not why he would. Yachty, as we know, is not afraid of anybody.
Right.
but that's just my side commentary for me. But the reason that Ollie just said to our guys down there, and I know because I just got a text on it, is that he is going to he wants to face more live pitching first, and so he'll get a few more live at bats and then get rolling on Monday.
So if the Cardinals are to, have success this year, what would be in your mind, what's the driving force in that success?
If the Cardinals are to have success, it will definitely come from starting pitching. This is a team that is built on run prevention. And we'll get to the offense in just a second because I think it's a fascinating story. But the pitching has to be there and it has to be healthy. And I think it's okay to wonder if it can, because we saw Wainwright have a great year last year, but let's face it, he's not getting any younger, and so we just you want him to stay healthy but also stay consistent. I think you're fine there. Miles Michaelis did not pitch a full season last year, and it's been a while since he did that. So you got to just cross your fingers and hope that the big strike thrower can do his thing. I think that Dakota Hudson could have a good year, but we haven't seen him pitch a full year either. And, you got to just hope that everything hangs on for him in a full season, but I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's maybe one that we're all not mentioning enough. Steven Matz is solid, and they're going to need him to be a workhorse. I love the way that he pitches. His mechanics are great delivery, works at a good pace, strike thrower. Fastball was bigger than I thought. He gets that fastball about 94, 95. And then, that fifth starter. So that's really important for them. They have the best defense in baseball. So really with the pitcher is easier said than done, but really all they need to do is pound the zone and get ground balls. I mean, there's no way that Goldschmidt, Edman, whoever plays shortstop, and Arenado aren't going to gobble those up. I mean, it'll be over. So get the ground balls and you should be fine. I think, for the bullpen also, this matters too. Throw strikes and get ground balls. If they don't walk so many people like they did last year, they win that division going away, I think. Mm-hmm. I think they let too many people back in with all the walks. If they are, and they're focused on this, if they throw strikes, they'll win the division and they'll be successful. But let me go back to offense real quick. This lineup has potential to be great, but it's going to need a couple of pieces to make it great. You got to figure out who the leadoff hitter is, and I think it needs to stay consistent. And that's either going to be Tommy Edman or Dylan Carlson. But eventually, and he's starting to show some signs of making more contact and hitting. Harrison Bader has the makings of a leadoff guy. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see what he looked like at the top, but I don't know that they're ready to do that just yet. Better on base percentage than Edman. Edman's on base was 308. I think Harrison's was something like 326. You can. It could be interesting to see if Bader has a good year. He seems like he's much more quiet at the plate, confident, feels good. Get him going. This could be a lot of fun in 22. Shortstop's got to be figured out. I think that you could play both of them, but I'd love to see one person take it. And if Paul DeYoung can get back to the healthy Paul DeYoung who hits 30 bombs and doesn't strike out as much, doesn't chase as much, if you throw him a mistake pitch down the middle, that ball's gone. He'll hit it out, but you need to see him a little more consistent. I think this team can score. Carlson, if as long as he doesn't have a regression in his sophomore year, we have to remember he's still just coming off a rookie season, 24 years old. If he has a good year, I think they could be tough. And the players that I left out that I think are going to be just fine. Goldschmidt will do his thing, solid as a rock. O'Neill, as long as he continues to work on his plate coverage and not chase after some of those bad balls, he will be a legit MVP candidate. I think he was 8th in the MVP voting last year. He's got all the makings of a star player. Arenado's Arenado, who continues to work on being better and better offensively, going the other way, line drives instead of launching it up in the air, pulling it. He will be excellent. You can count on Nolan. So it's a good baseball team. It's not the best team in the National League, but I think they got a chance. And one other thing, So if they were to be successful, what has to happen? I think they need to make a midseason move, Colton. I think they need to do something to address a matter a little quicker and make that reaction midseason. We didn't see them very active in this offseason. Maybe that's a sign that they're holding it until they really need to do something by the trade deadline. They will do that and become a World Series contender. I just feel like with Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright, most likely playing in their final season, and it looks like their final season together, unless Yadi pulls a Tom Brady. This is a window of opportunity to do something very special with those guys, and I think that everyone recognizes that.
I think it's not only an opportunity to, send those guys out on the right note, but the Brewers, in my opinion, I thought they regressed a little bit. They lost a few key players from their lineup. They'll have most of the same pitching staff from last year. The Cubs, they'll probably be that third team, but I think the Reds are headed towards a short rebuild, and then obviously Pittsburgh is going to Pittsburgh. So I think the NL Central is going to be down a little bit this year comparatively to other divisions. I think the NL East will be a lot better this year, in my opinion, than what they were last year. This offseason was because, they didn't really go out and spend that big, a lot of money. Were they ever really considering a shortstop possibly to fill that position?
I think that they probably looked around and tried to figure out what it would cost them and for how much, for how long. I mean, but they said publicly they're going to give Paul Ed a chance to do it, and he has that opportunity now. Plus, they like Sosa a lot, and they also know that they have Nolan Gorman coming. You mentioned Gorman a little earlier; he is struggling. Maybe just the pressure of it getting to him a little bit, but I think eventually the top hitting prospect will do his thing, or maybe Jordan Walker's top hitting prospect at this point. But Gorman, they know they have him playing second base. You got Tommy there, you got Sosa and DeYoung. It's a pretty good middle infield situation, so I think they're okay from that perspective. But yeah, it'll be a division that is gettable for sure. I still think the Brewers are tough. I think they've put together a team of toughness that always seems to play well and consistently. The Cubs will be a pain. I think they're going to be hanging around all year. Wrigley can be a difficult place to play sometimes. I think they do still have some talent. I'm not really sure if the Cubs know what they are. Are they in it? Are they not? They seem to be, like you said, somewhere in the middle, and I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. I don't know how great they're going to be, but I think they'll be fine. They'll win some ball games. And I agree with you on the Reds and Pirates. Reds have basically, waved the white flag, and the
Yeah.
Pirates are going to spoil some games once in a while, but not contend.
Right. And I think a lot of it too is due to with the new rules coming, you have the extended playoffs. So there's really no need, especially in the NL Central. You can win, last year, the Brewers won 95 games. Is that right? 96, somewhere in there.
Cardinals won 90. So the Brewers won, I think something like that. I think they finished about 5 ahead.
I think it'll be probably right around 92 or so, in my opinion, for the division this year. There is no need, I think, to try and compete with a Dodgers team if you're in the NL West to win 110 games a year. And so I think,
right.
Whether the front office kind of put that into perspective as well. But, looking around the MLB as a whole, what effects do you think the universal DH will have on St. Louis or just the NL in general?
Well, I think, I'm not a fan of it, but I've accepted it because it's just the way it's going to be. I think that it takes some of that strategy out. It eliminates the role of the pinch hitter too, in a lot of ways. And a lot of these guys that had a chance to make a name for themselves as a pinch hitter jumping in off the bench are not as important, although the DH will be moved around a lot, especially in St. Louis. I think that it gives the Cardinals a chance for some flexibility. They did not go out and get a Kyle Schwarber. They want players who can also play in the field and really help them in the field. So that's why they got Corey Dickerson, who has had a pretty good career. I mean, he's won a Gold Glove. He's been an All-Star. He has power, but he hasn't shown it recently. So they think that a lefty bat like his could be really important. They could also stick him in the outfield. But then Juan Yepes has been used as a first baseman, and they want to see him in the outfield eventually. And I think he could be very interesting. He's got a really nice swing. You could see him from the right side as a DH. Brendan Donovan's an interesting case. They've used him in the middle infield and also in the corner outfield positions. Strong kid, lefty bat that I think could be fun. But the player that intrigues me the most is Lars Nootbaar. He is a freak of an athlete. He's got a powerful lefty swing. And if he's hot, I don't know that you can deny him. I think that he needs to play. So the DH is finally here for the Cardinals. I said I don't like it, but the Cardinals did need it because they just felt like, to me, they had that hole in their lineup last year, that one extra bat they could have used, and they would have liked to have known about the DH a long time ago, but it did not come around until this CBA. But now they have options, and maybe this is something that they could address in the middle of the season and go out and get an extra bat.
Now, kind of the question everybody wants to know, with the DH coming to the NL, what are your thoughts on bringing him back home?
I mean, selfishly, I love it. I love Albert Pujols with all my heart. As a friend and as a baseball player, I just understand what that would mean from a marketing standpoint and everything like that. But the Cardinals are really needed a lefty bat, and from a baseball standpoint, they need players that they can move around and play in the field. And so from a baseball standpoint, it does not fit what they are publicly stating. We all know what it would mean for ticket sales and intrigue and all of that stuff. So, if it were me being a selfish Albert Pujols fan, not saying any of us are, but I'm just saying,
right?
Of course, I love the guy, but it is what it is. It's a business of winning baseball games and developing talent, and the Cardinals are absolutely trying to do that. And I think it's nothing more than that. And I certainly hope that he gets an opportunity to chase after some big numbers and win some more.
Now, I put you on the spot a little bit with, your national champion for college basketball. If you had a way too early World Series prediction, who do you got?
Tough one. I think eventually the New York Yankees are going to do this, and maybe this is the year that they can put it all together. They have not even been to the World Series since 2009, and time is running out for some of those people in the Yankee organization because the fans are not going to have that. So I don't know why I'm picking them right now, but maybe I just feel like eventually they're going to. And so I guess I'd take them as a pick. But I think it's wide open. I think the AL East has candidates within it. I think out west in the AL and the Central, not so much, but I could almost pick the White Sox to do it. And I could see a White Sox Yankees ALCS. I think the White Sox are trying to do it desperately. And could very well do it. They were my pick last year and fell short. On the National League side, the Dodgers obviously are a powerhouse. The Braves showed that it doesn't matter. You can still play a consistent ball throughout the year and win. And the team probably to watch right now is the New York Mets to see what they do with all their spending and everything. They've got some stars, and they obviously have Scherzer at the top. Pitching wins, though, so that's what you got to keep an eye on. The teams with the healthiest pitching staff will get it done.
We'll end with I told you to prepare a little bit of golf next week, right? As Masters week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Following week.
Starting
week, the home opener for the Cardinals is the first day of the Masters, April 7th.
Correct. Yes. So It's one of the best times of the year. Not often is opening day this late, but we're just that lucky this year. So if you had a Masters pick, who do you like this year?
I love John Rahm. I think John Rahm it's his time, and he's the best player in the world right now, and I think that he'll have himself ready for it. He's just playing better than everybody else. Even yesterday, and he's playing down in Austin. He just found a way, even though he was a little sloppy at times in playing. He always seems to find a way to rein it in. And when it comes to a major, I think he'll be laser focused on getting that job done. I'm going to go John Rahm to win the Masters.
John Rahm. So it'd be the third Spaniard to win it there. As latest is Sergio Garcia. But there you have it, John Rahm. I would like to see Rory do it just to complete the career Grand Slam, and then I think he's got the second best odds right now.
I always root for him.
Yeah, I'd like to see it get done, but I don't know. I think it'll be really open this year. I mean, it always is, and there's always one young new guy that always puts himself in contention, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Will Zalatoris make a run again, especially because he's having a good week this week. So it'll be interesting to see, but. Tom, I appreciate your time and coming on here with me and talking all sorts of sports, but especially Cardinal baseball, and for your insight.
Hey, great to be on with you. It's great. I appreciate it, and we'll catch up soon.
Yep, we'll talk soon. But that'll do it for us here today on the Colten Kahler Show. For Tom Ackerman, I'm Colten Kahler. I'll see you next week on the Sports 2.0 Network.